Bruins to their feet. Bouchard, pass missed Draisaitl. Down to our right, Forsling in the corner. He'll try and hold this. 10 seconds left. 2-1 Panthers. A dream 30 years in the making is a reality. Whoa! The Florida Panthers have won the Stanley Cup.
Lord Stanley is coming home. You always will have a place in South Florida. Oh, my God.
The Panthers have won the Stanley Cup for the first time in franchise history.
Yeah!
Start the celebration, South Florida. The Panthers have done it.
Stanley Cup champions!
He's Mick overrated, Greg's exonerated. That's Connor McDavid. Greg made a take, stuck to his guns, and then the Ice Cats won. They were up 3-0, lost 3 in a row, and we weren't having fun. Back in Sunrise, we got right and punched out your lights. So sleep tight with Gunsmite. Lord Stanley's ours tonight. Oh, you know he's Mick overrated, Greg's exonerated. That's Connor McDavid. Oh, he's Mick overrated, Greg's exonerated. That's Connor McDavid. He's Mick Let's put up billboards now. Let's put up billboards now. He's Mick overrated, Greg's exonerated. That's Connor McDavid. He's Mick overrated, Greg's exonerated. That's Connor McDavid. He's
Obviously, it is always very cool to win a championship. Cooler if you've been enmeshed in what the history of your franchise is. The voice you heard on the radio was Billy Lindsay. It is literally the first Florida Panther playoff memory I have is Billy Lindsay. To hear him screaming like that because his soul has left his body because of what it means to him. I'm thrilled that we've got Zaslow in with us today. He's been all over ESPN as the voice of the Florida Panther fan, even though he traded Barkov a couple of years ago.
I repented for that already. Let it go.
1 year ago, no.
Let it go.
Okay.
Didn't like Bobrovsky a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Maurice was the murderer of fun. Now he's maybe my all-time favorite coach.
Somebody writes in, I'm just glad we live in a country where Greg COTE can now sue everyone who ever doubted him. And then I fear this today. I can't even be happy for anyone because the annoying people outweigh it. This is what angers anyone in North America whenever South Florida wins anything. That I don't know if more people, I'm gathering that more people would be watching this today if they'd lost, correct? That the better result for numbers is to come and sink in and laugh at Roy and laugh at Mike and laugh at Bandwagon Billy.
Excuse me? I got a text this past weekend from someone, and it said only Miami fans can make Edmonton Oilers America's team. And I thought that they were probably right.
We've got Greg COTE is taking a victory lap outside somewhere, and we're waiting. A number of things have gone wrong over the evening. We got the dimensions wrong for the billboards. Otherwise, they would already be up. Of course we did.
Right.
Like, of course we did.
Really? That's what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do as a company. And Greg COTE is somewhere outside taking a victory lap, and we will have in moments a hungover driver moving him nearby in a personal parade that Greg COTE is not outside doing yet. He's just in the other studio. Not
permits.
Not doing it. You need permits to
For parades, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Why is Greg COTE just sitting in the other room as opposed to being outside with the victory parade that we were doing for just him? Why is he sitting in the other room?
It's a good question. He's just standing there.
Well, I think Greg COTE at this point feels like he can do whatever he wants to do. I mean, he was right. He wrote the column. He had everyone talking, and it turns out that Greg COTE was 1,000% correct. He should have won the Conn Smythe.
Just out of curiosity, were the dimensions too small or too big? Because I'm trying to envision if it would be great if we just saw like a corner of the intended billboard, or if we just saw like a little tiny billboard in the middle with a lot of like blank space around it.
They were just wrong. The dimensions were simply wrong.
Can I ask what the billboard is, or do we want it to be like a grand surprise?
It's just celebrating Greg COTE. That's all it is. Roy, how are you feeling right now?
I'm sure that'll go over in Edmonton.
Good. Thanks for all
you
your
were drinking? Weren't you working?
I was working and drinking. At the
Did you
same
drink
time.
from? Okay.
Working
don't
and
say
Really?
that.
What?
Yeah, I can do that.
Did you drink from the cup?
No. The cup left before. Like, they got that cup out of there pretty quickly, man.
Did you touch it? I mean,
I didn't get to touch it, no.
really?
No, all the players got to touch it before I did.
Yeah, seems right.
Yeah, seems like it makes sense. Yeah.
Mike Ryan, how did your evening go?
I made an impulse buy on Game Time, and I wanted to enjoy that with my wife, no matter the result. And I told myself, like right before scanning Game Time, because we were about to take my daughter to my dad's to watch her for us to watch the game. And I said, if my team wasn't in this, that's a place that I want to be. I love puck. I've been in an arena when they've handed that trophy out before, and it's so cool. And I know it would sting like hell if this is the greatest collapse in pro sports history in a best of 7. But once you get some separation from it and that pain, if he comes back, it's the game's greatest player capping off the game's greatest comeback. And that's something that you have, and that's a conversation starter. That's whenever you get around with your hoser friends, you get to say you were there. And on the opposite end of that is the franchise's first Stanley Cup. And it was beautiful, man. We wept. We celebrated with people in that organization. I got to tell you, I was really touched. I got a DM the second it hit 000 from the dude that gave me my internship at a high school. His name is Connor McDavid, and I want to shout him out. That experience at a high school working for the Florida Panthers really shaped me in a lot of ways, because I went into a franchise that was undergoing a lockout and there were massive layoffs. And it wasn't, if we're not for that experience, I wouldn't have valued the loyalty that I found on this show and the job security I had in this show so much. I might have made different career choices had I not been granted that internship under Michael Yormark in the Florida Panthers. And it was like, it was a sweet emotional moment. It's like after you have a kid, you find yourself crying a lot for different things. And I'm not sure I was crying so much for the fact that we had won the Stanley Cup or the fact that we had gone through this incredible journey, but it was an amazing outpouring of emotion. I was really happy for a lot of those people that have been with that franchise for a very long time, Dan.
We're going to talk to one of them here in 5 minutes. Our friend Randy Moller has been careening through the streets, foggy from whatever it is Celebration and Temptation are. He's been partying for many years inside and around hockey, and he's going to join us in a couple of minutes. But Zaz, one of the things that I thought was the coolest about everything that happened last night, and in setting it up, one of the things that I had mentioned was you've now gone before Game 7 from a team that nobody in the world wanted to win to a team that nobody thought could win. We just saw that happen over 7 games. I think that part is cool enough, but this is the part that has to make Panther fans feel a special kind of special. This was earned. It wasn't injuries all over the place. You beat the best at his best, and in the last 2 games, you smothered him. And at the end of that game last night, McDonough's screaming, the Oilers are exhausted. Yeah. You've got a minute left in your season. Here, go take it from the Panthers. You can't, because they did what they do in the third period. They just buried you. And at the end of that game, playing more minutes, more desperate, their best was not good enough. You beat the best at his best.
It really was the blueprint, really all year long. Starting in training camp, where I've heard the stories that Paul Maurice drilled them so hard in training camp to make sure that they are the best conditioned team. I mean, like Herb Brooks, Team USA style. The worst, hardest training camp that a lot of these players have ever been through. And it was to get to that moment where, yeah, they've been a great third period team all year long. And going into the game last night, I was just envisioning, all right, can we, because of the way the last 3 games have gone, can I be within a goal going into the third? Just, I don't have to be ahead. I didn't expect to be ahead.
You would have taken that?
I was hoping we'd be tied going into the third. But I would have taken, can we be within a goal in the third period? And we will outlast them. And then we went to the third, and we're ahead a goal, and it's like, oh, my God, can we just play them even for the final 20 minutes? And by the way, those 20 minutes, it was the slowest 20 minutes of my life. It was the most anxiety I've ever had. I mean, I'm on the verge of a panic attack every time the Oilers had full control of the puck in the zone, which was seemingly all 20 minutes of the third period. And then McDonough's right. And when he pointed it out was perfect, because right when he says it, that the Oilers are out of gas, you look at them, they're barely moving. And by the way, McDavid was on the ice. It seemed, I think statistically he was on the ice for 10 of the 20 minutes in the third period, which is crazy. He was always on the ice, and they couldn't move anymore at the end of the game. And guess what? The Panthers, they were fresh, and they were fine at the end of the game. It was so beautiful. It was the blueprint.
And there were layers to prevent the puck cycling and doing all the Connor McDavid fancy things that we had seen throughout there.
He had some chances, though, Mike, late in the game. He did.
Where were you when Aaron Ekblad stopped Connor McDavid on a 1v1? Because my soul left my body at that moment. And I got to tell you, there has never been an arena that needed the first goal in a game more than that building.
Was it loud?
Dude, there was no path to victory if the Oilers scored first. None. Negative aura, bad vibes, toxicity in our city.
You guys did this before the game, too.
They can say it now.
They can say whatever they want, but all I saw is that the Oilers took it back two minutes later.
Yeah.
They took the one goal, and you were right back in the same position you were in, fearing they'd get the second one.
That third goal was the goal.
No. The Oilers simply couldn't score first. And I someone that was there, no one looked up. Oilers fans were feeling themselves, talking all their garbage as they should have been because they were riding high. That was a nervous place. There was a lot of liquid courage that got people up for puck drop, but that place needed the Oilers to not score first, to come alive and realize that, okay, this is just a fourth chance in 4 to get one. Let's do it.
I was surprised at how loud Edmonton's goal sounded. Edmonton had a whole lot of people.
Well, it started, though, with the anthem. That was when you noticed, right? The anthem was so loud, singing the Canadian anthem. Like, whoa, there's a lot of them there.
No, both anthems got sang by the fans.
But I think we were inspired by how loud they were. When do we ever, in any of these buildings, just here, when does the American national anthem ever get sung by the crowd?
It took them being patriotic for us to be patriotic.
I am curious how that translated over the television, because there it kind of felt like this is a moment. The Canadians,
it was awesome,
pulling ahead of Alanis, and Alanis trying to slow them down.
Bad face by the Canadian fan. I mean, keep it tuned. Come on.
Yeah, and
Alanis did a bad job. If we're going to be honest. Legends did a bad job.
You got to let them have it.
Did a bad job.
You got to let the Oilers fans have it, and you lay out.
With the national anthem, bad job too.
But when she did the U.S. anthem, the Panther fans caught what had happened previously, and anytime they started speeding up, they slowed it right back down to catch it.
There's an intelligence level there. You could tell. There's an intelligence level.
Aren't you Canadian?
I have dual citizenship. I was born here.
Just like Alanis.
Yeah, just like Alanis.
Billy, what are your overall thoughts on Alanis?
No, she didn't do a good job last night. I don't think anyone can argue that she did. Do you think she did a good job?
Well, she did a good job by showing up. I was surprised to see that kind of star power in Sunrise.
She was in town. She had a concert like the night before.
Panthers fans were
Sunrise.
Cashing a check. Come on, get out of here.
Still surprised to see her in the Everglades.
Panthers fans
Still
were
surprised.
ready to crush that, though.
Yeah.
Oh, if they get out to a 2-0 lead, we're blaming Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something? So, speaking of the national anthem and everything that took place before the game, how did we feel when it was announced that Roberto Luongo is banging the drum?
Not the greatest Game 7 record, but he's the greatest player in franchise history.
He should have been the guy.
It was a neutral for me.
He also did a bad job, right? Like, he went too fast.
No, that was like a 10 out of 10.
On TV, it seemed like he was banging it faster than the people
Doesn't
were saying.
matter. He had
Panthers.
crazy.
Did you watch the Euros? He was jacked up because of Italy.
He hit you with the LFG, like in the crowd.
He had crazy energy. See, I was worried that they were going to make it Luongo, and they did, and I was worried because he lost a Game 7 in goal for Vancouver. But then I realized, Dan, the theme of the team this postseason has been redemption. And you know what? Redemption includes that for Luongo as well, to redeem himself from Game 7 in 2011. So I was in on it.
He rang a bell
No, he banged the drum.
Hey, he banged the drum.
Have you watched the game?
I don't get 2 minutes for that. Get out of here.
Stugotz, go sit in the penalty box.
I mean, Luongo didn't redeem anything.
Stugotz, you can't.
He wasn't part of the team.
Stugotz, you can't fly in from the dead and then ring a bell.
He is a part of the team. He's an employee.
You got to do better than that.
I drove in from the dead.
The bar is so low for you. The bar is so low for you.
2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Did you guys boo Wayne Huizenga also? Because that came out on TV and it was delicious.
No, they were booing Batman.
No, they booed Huizenga. Then there's a Huizenga. They booed Huizenga.
way.
Yeah, screw that
No
guy.
way.
Love booing Wayne
Ringing a
Huizenga.
bell.
I love
Stugotz.
booing dead
A
people.
bell.
What?
Such a weird
What?
thing to
What?
love.
You love booing dead
Oh,
people?
yeah. I get the last laugh. You think you leave this earth and I'm going to forget about what you did? I will not, Wayne Huizenga.
Maybe Stugotz was confused because we did have that 6-game stretch where there was a monk ringing a bell before games.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So he was too informed.
Friar Puck.
He was too informed. Friar Puck.
That was what a miserable time in Panther history that was.
Chris
We still
Cody.
had Burry on the team, too.
We have Randy Moller coming in, and it really does always make me happy to see his face, but especially as radiant as it is today. Can you give us just a little bit of history that we have with Randy Moller, who at one point in the Panthers' history was doing hockey on the radio and allowed our fans to make his goal calls for him?
McCabe back to White, top of the face-off circle, down the goal line to Stillman, over to Bowmeister, shoots, he scores! Run, Forrest, run! Bowmeister on the left point, steps in, wrist shot right on, they shoot, they score! She blinded me with science! Wrist shot, shoots, he scores! Wilson! Top of the face-off circle, fires the strike, shoots, he scores! Get off my lawn! Anthony Stewart with a turnaround shot that gets him behind. Eric Eresberg, you did the motorboat, didn't you? Into the high slot. Here comes Bowmeister. Shoots. He scores! Kelly Clarkson. Panthers get another power play goal. Ballard, quick strike. Shoots. He scores! Ball! The meatloaf. Panthers with a power play goal. They got a 1-0 lead. They score! There's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Reggie Hammond. Spire scores. Nathan Horton skyrockets in flight. Afternoon delight. Lacey shoots. He scores. I'm never gonna dance again. Another shot. He scores. I feel like taking crazy pills. Open that. Stillman scores. Do you mind if we dance with your dates? Rebound and shoot, they score! Get in my belly!
Moller, I can't imagine that you've ever felt quite this good about hockey.
Look at him.
Look at how happy he is. Give us the most emotional moments for you from last night. Who and where you connected with some of your vigorous and warm bear hugs.
It's great to be on with you guys. I can barely hear you. I think my ears are still ringing from last night and that celebration and on the ice and to be with this team and this organization. I tell you what, it was, Dan, you've known me for a long time. Stugotz back on the radio station and doing the shows and the games and the when the team was, oh boy, we've come a long way, but this twisted road is well worth it. I'm running on fumes right now, but to be a part of this, it's like everybody says, when you win a championship, it's surreal. You find yourself reminiscing about how you got to this spot, and I'm just so happy for this organization. They were able to turn it around, started with the Viola family when they purchased this team and how they filled in some critical positions and then built the team both on the ice and off the ice and in the community and that. And for the fans that have stuck with us and how we've been able to grow the game because this team has gotten better on and off the ice. And I'm just so grateful. I'm humbled to be a part of it. And I'm just elated. It's a strange feeling. And I just trying to soak it all in right now.
Did you touch the cup?
No.
What?
No. Last night is for the players, their families, the management, the hockey operations, and that. we'll get an opportunity, and that this sometime this week. That's what I really want.
It's going to be a boat parade, right?
I don't know. I haven't heard the details. What's going to happen? I hear it's later this week. Then they're still in the planning stages. But it's going to be probably downtown Fort Lauderdale, and there's a reason why they call it Fort Lickerdale. So it's going to be quite the party.
Randy, I'm so happy for you, man. Obviously, I worked next to you for a couple years on that Panther radio broadcast. I know how much it means to you. I know how hard you work and just how much you love this franchise. So congratulations. I'm so happy for you, Randy. What were the closing seconds like for you? You thought about it, what it could possibly feel like as the clock's running out and you have a lead in Game 7. What did those few seconds when they're pinning the puck on the board feel like for you?
Well, Zaz, in that, to name a few, that you knew that they were going to come out in Game 7. And if they didn't win, they were going to leave it on the ice and they were going to give it everything they had. And I think we witnessed last night the Panthers, the way they play and why they're so popular with their fans. They're aggressive, they're fast, they're in your face, and they do whatever they can to win each shift and that was really at the forefront. So to tie it all in, there were so many, especially in Canada, the media, the press, everybody didn't give them a hope to win Game 7, and they proved them wrong. And I think I'm really proud that the reversal happened, because it's got to be tough. And these guys, they're human beings, and I'm sure that they read and heard about the doubt that was going into Game 7, and to get it done is very special.
Mike, is Barkov riding around Fort Lauderdale and Las Olas with the cup on a golf cart?
Yes, he's doing that right now. He's on a golf cart with the sparkling water in hand and the Stanley Cup.
Does
in the back
anyone
seat
recognize him? Because I was told that he was walking around.
I think they definitely recognize the cup.
Right.
But I'm not kidding. I was told the night before he was wandering around Las Olas and everybody was leaving him alone because nobody knew who Barkov was. I'm not making that up. Randy, who did you see last night that you were happiest for? We just played the call with Bill Lindsay, and he was, he was going nuts. Who were you happiest for visually as you wandered around through the emotions of the moment?
Oh, Dan, there was so many. The Viola family. Vinny Viola's had some medical issues lately. His lovely wife Teresa, she was carrying the dog around the ice. I thought that was pretty funny. Guys like Matt Caldwell, the president of the team, and then the players like Alexander Barkov, Aaron Ekblad. They've been here the longest. They've been through some of the darkest days when they first joined this team, when the team wasn't very good. And then special with being with Goldie. We've been together now for 28 years. He's my best friend. He's the best in the business. And we got some great pictures last night. Alumni, Billy Lindsay, as you mentioned, Ed Jovanovski, Roberto Luongo. And there's Barky right there with a picture of him riding around in a golf cart.
Moller, did you get weepy with Goldstein? Did you get weepy with Goldstein? Did your big bare eyes fill with tears? Are you capable of a human emotion?
I can tell you I got a little emotional. That's a lot of years, Dan.
Yeah.
Buddy,
I remember
to do that with your best friend.
Don't mock it.
To do that with your best friend, to
So
all
good.
the road trips, all those teams you covered,
So
all
good.
the hardship you guys got from management.
The
like
CPR line.
to have your best friend with you and share that joy with him, that's the coolest, Randy.
Well, I think one of the biggest satisfactions is, we are having to broadcast this game, the games back in those days after your radio program, and that was a ratings killer to begin with. So, it's all the memories, and it just makes it that much sweeter. People talk about you have to go through adversity and all the tough times to enjoy the good times and that. Well, believe me, I've been through it all. When there was 5,000 people in the stands and 2,500 of them got free tickets at Subway. Those days are long gone now, and I'm very proud of this organization where they came from.
Moles, how'd you feel about Connor McDavid winning the Conn Smythe Trophy?
Mixed emotions. He's the best player in the world. 42 points in the playoffs. He had an outstanding playoff, and there's no way that the Oilers get to the finals without him. But in saying that, and I'm putting my Panthers in my heart here, Sergei Bobrovsky, they would not have won the Stanley Cup without Sergei Bobrovsky, even though he gave up 3 goals, 4 consecutive games, 3+ goals, 4 consecutive games. He battled, kept him in, and we saw the true that we've seen so many times, Bobrovsky in game number 7. Connor McDavid didn't have a point in the last 2 games of this Stanley Cup final. He only had 1 shot in game 6. I'll just leave it at that. I have nothing. I love Connor McDavid. He's done so much for the sport. He's a special player. But I think that the MVP should be awarded to somebody on the winning team, and that would have been Sergei Bobrovsky.
Randy, did you get any time after the game with Coach Paul Maurice? I mean, it was such a difficult transition for Panther fans last year when he was hired. I was so angry with him last year, and now I love him so much.
The murderer of fun.
I called him the murderer of fun all throughout last year, and I love him. I was dead wrong, and I can't be happier that I was dead wrong.
He's coached 2,000 damn games.
I love him so much. He was so amazing after the game yesterday. All of his emotions. You could see it when he was holding the cup. It's an unbelievable picture. Did you get any time with the coach after the game last night?
No, I didn't. Because by the time I hang on a second here, I'm getting frickin' phone calls all over the place.
You just want to sleep. I mean,
because it was chaos on the ice. By the time I got down there, and that he'd already lifted the cup and he left. I got a hug from Bill Zito, and I mentioned a bunch of other people and that. But I'll see Paul. He's a special coach with a unique personality, and it's been so much fun being with him. He gives us such insight, and that. So happy for him. He's been around for 30 years. I mean, the stories that he could tell you, and some of the teams that he has coached, and that I'm so happy for him and his family.
Randy, we're going to let you go because we know you've been up all night enjoying partying. But before we let you go, just quickly, your general thoughts on Greg COTE?
I can't believe he's still working in the profession of sports. I thought he would have been in those one of those retirement farms or whatever. Look at him right there.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is Greg COTE. We wanted to bring him in. He's doing his personal victory lap. You can see that he's outside and he's doing his personal parade.
Where's the people? Where are the fans?
Well, they're late arriving. They're
on the plane back to Edmonton.
Some of them are sleeping. Yes, some of them flew back to Edmonton. There's Greg COTE taking a personal parade. It's a little bit different than the one that the Celtics had, slightly, but
it's early.
Well, these things require planning.
Word will get out.
Planning. There's Greg COTE.
Oh, wow. The fanfare.
Let's have him out there the entire show.
In the middle of his victory lap.
The entire show.
Greg, do you want to say anything to Randy Moller out there as you take your victory lap today?
Yeah, I was glad to hear Randy say that McDavid probably ought not have won the Conn Smythe. You got to give it to Bob, I think, for the reasons Randy said. But, the best news is McDavid didn't get the trophy he wanted. The Panthers stole that one from him. They didn't steal it. They earned it from him. And so it's a happy day down here. Happier day down here and in Edmonton. McDavid continues to pile up fantastic numbers with nothing to show at the end of it. And so this postseason of his was really a metaphor for his career. And that is what makes him overrated.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Greg.
Double down, my man.
Hey, COTE.
Thank you.
Hey, COTE. It's Moller.
Yeah. Hey.
I think the biggest reason why your fans are not out there on the sidewalk, or most of them are on wheelchairs, they're having their applesauce right now. So.
Yeah.
You know what? We'll take him any way we can get him. All right, here comes a big fan right now.
Yeah.
Woo!
That is not a fan
How
of
are
yours.
you?
That's just someone in the crosswalk.
Nice to see you, ma'am.
That is
Someone going to work.
Right.
that is someone who doesn't want to be
up.
bothered by
We got
you.
half a dozen fans over
No,
there.
they're not there for you. They're just crossing the street.
All right, a waiver. We got a waiver. We got a waiver.
Yeah, you got somebody. You've been stared.
Three people waving. They're a little sadder than three people waving.
Randy, thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah, Randy,
we are
congrats.
thrilled for you, sir. We're very happy for you. It's been a long, long road, buddy.
It's going to be a long week. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right. Much love. Randy Moller has been around our show for a long time, and we really do love the energy he brings. He once showed up at a poker tournament of ours dressed in a bear costume and never announced that it was him, and then just ran out. That's something he did. Greg, give us all of your other thoughts here as you take this victory lap all over Miami. You've begun the parade before anyone else has begun the parade. Give us some of your some other thoughts from last night.
My thoughts from last night, it was a well-earned victory. The two goal scorers were guys who needed to step up, and they did. Bobrovsky played a fantastic game. The last 3 minutes of that game, I thought Edmonton pulled their goalie at least a minute too late, but the last 3 or 4 minutes of that game were about as exciting 3 or 4 minutes as I've ever seen covering sports down here for 50 years. It was electric. It was just nerve-wracking down to the bone. What a finish to the season. What a wonderful Game 7. I think it's a great, all kidding aside, I think it's a great day for the Florida Panthers, for Panthers fans, for South Florida sports in general. What a wonderful time.
You had someone behind you.
Hey,
It seemed like
thank
your
you.
parade was gathering momentum. You had a car behind you, but they now made a left turn through
That
some
car
of the
was trying to get past Greg
Yeah,
Cody.
some of
I
the
mean,
flooding.
obstructing
car
traffic.
rerouted
Everybody
itself.
wants to join the parade.
There's no one in the parade but you. No one wants to join it. That car that just left did drive through a considerable amount of flooding. Greg, you feel vindicated? How scared? Hold on a second, Chris.
Hey, you too.
Chris,
Thank you.
Chris, how scared?
that?
How scared was your father? Do you have any idea how scared he was in the press box? Because he was legitimately fearing harm, that someone would harm him after the game if they lost.
He was trying to act when I talked to him like he wasn't feeling the pressure of the whole McDavid thing, and I was feeling the pressure of it. So I don't know how he wasn't, but this is such a ridiculous shot we have
Greg,
right
your
here.
honest appraisal, you were scared. You were scared last night, right? I just told people that you were telling me, hey, Dan, you might have a liability issue on your hands if I get hurt after the game tomorrow night or last night because someone hurts me after the game after they've lost.
He's too engulfed in the celebration.
It's hard to hear with the crowd.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Another fan over there. Thank you.
Yeah. Can he no
Yeah.
longer? Can he
She
no
looks
longer
familiar.
hear me?
He
All
doesn't
right.
care.
Must be a coincidence.
We'll come back to
Cynthia
him
look-alike.
in a little bit. Mike, are you enraged that Greg Cody gets to take a victory lap here? That he gets to celebrate as if he was right
Thank
all
you.
along?
No, not at all.
I love you back.
That's what you
Thank
do.
you.
That's what you do after you win. Wow. After you win.
Another car joined the parade.
He is out of control with ego, and he does feel validated, even though Connor McDavid.
He won the Conn Smythe in a losing
know,
effort
I know,
and
I
set the
know.
record for points in a postseason, breaking
adds
Gretzky.
to his aura.
But he did go pointless in games 1, 6, and 7, and they had him in a vice.
I'll say this because you know that I have spent, because you guys say the last 4 minutes were great. They weren't actually great. You were just expectant. They were kind of terrible. That
Very tense.
The Oilers couldn't get anything in the way of energy
Our
going.
whole game plan was icing.
What about that sequence right in front of the Panther net where there's just bodies on top of bodies everywhere, and Bob in the middle of all of that gets his fingertips on his blocker side to push the puck out. And it's not something that you caught in real time. You were just amazed that the puck somehow stayed out. That was desperation. That was everybody putting their body on the line, and that's why you love Game 7s and this sport.
And a well-placed Brandon Montour hook.
Oh my God, that was
was
cheating.
great.
That was
Yes.
such cheating.
I didn't see that.
was
Really?
well,
No.
Montour saved the season. Montour.
No, and Dmitry Kulikov also.
Yeah,
saved the season.
Kulikov had the biggest
Dude.
play.
That was the biggest assist of that night. That secondary assist.
That's why we count hockey assists.
You call it cheating. I call it hockey, Dan. That was a heady
No,
play by Montour.
Look,
It was.
what they're saying on Kulikov is right because he ends up in the net, and
Unbelievable.
what you don't see against Edmonton and the Panthers haven't done much of this the postseason. Reinhart goes from blue line to blue line. Like Reinhart just takes the puck all the way down. Soft goal by Skinner. Like that's that's one of the easiest goals you've seen.
Thank you, everyone.
Them
Thank you.
them get. But what we're talking about with the hooking, like that, Montour saved the season by cheating. And because that should have been a goal for
This is a
Edmonton.
take.
Oh, they are not going to call a single goddamn penalty in that game. Dan, it's game 7.
They were
let
letting game
everything
7.
go.
They were letting
They're not
game
calling
say
that.
that.
Let everything go.
They were letting that game play out.
That should have been a goal for Edmonton.
Yeah,
That
they
should have been the
scored 2
tying
goals.
goal.
So then it's overtime. I mean,
Oh, I was rooting
What a
for
crowd.
overtime.
Oh, of course you were.
This is fantastic.
When you say that the last 10 seconds, it looked like Edmonton didn't even want to bother with that puck in the corner anymore. McDavid was in circles in front of the net, but he was exhausted. He was looking down at the ice. And one of the things that I loved about yesterday's game, if you've been watching this team all season, is they were hitting everybody last night. Like that was a very physical game that they played. And toward the end of it, in the third period, after you guys have seen me fear Tampa, fear Boston, fear the Rangers, the most uncommon thing swept over me in the third period of that game. I'm not afraid of McDavid. Where's McDavid been? Where's he been? Where is he? I'm not afraid. Why am I not taking inventory of the fact that he's on the ice so much and I should be afraid? I wasn't afraid of him.
That play in the corner, by the way, that's exactly how the Eastern Conference Final ended.
Yep.
That's what they worked on in training camp.
So cool.
They ended the entire season on a play in the corner that they worked on in training camp.
You were terrified the entire time because, as they showed in that game, the Panthers made essentially like one mistake in that game, and they paid for it. They get a little sloppy with possession in the zone, and that's Tarasenko, by the way, the savvy veteran, gives a puck away and a 100-foot pass.
Ekblad was so far out of
He was
position.
behind him. He was behind
100, you
Ekblad.
do not give up a 100-foot pass for that opportunity, and you realize, oh my God, it's happening again. This team all of a sudden gets breakaways at will, and we can never generate anything. There weren't quality scoring chances by the Florida Panthers. They didn't, on offense, didn't exactly play well. This is the biggest game in NHL history, a Game 7. They won the Cup, and they didn't even really execute on offense all that well, but they did what they needed to do defensively. Maybe if they swept, you could really talk about this team as an all-time team because this was the greatest NHL season. The greatest path for any Panther fan. You go through your rival, as you mentioned. You go through Boston. You go through New York. You go through a cup-starved nation and their greatest player.
Go on.
Unbelievable run. And maybe, even though it goes 7, and
the puck then squeaks out, and all Hyman's got to do, he's got the backhand right there, but Montour not only is hooking him, then hits him in the face with the stick.
quality back check. That's a Game 7 back check.
Cheating. Total cheating.
Game 7 back check. I will tell you the only time that I didn't have fear was when 42 was on the puck. When he was defending an Edmonton Oiler that was rushing into their zone, I knew 42, after coming off a nightmarish game, 42 bounces back. Forsling, I feel so comfortable with that guy on the ice. And there's been a longstanding theory in all these podcasts that I've heard that your top defenseman needs to be a bigger guy because of the war of attrition in the playoffs. He's not a bigger guy. He's been waived twice in his career. He's the greatest waiver claim in the history of that sport. And I felt so safe with him when he was on the ice.
I can't get past, for the first 3 years of his time here, we hated Sergei Bobrovsky. Hated him. Worst contract in the entire National Hockey League. And now, he's the greatest free agent signing in the history of the franchise. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. His number is going to be in the rafters when he's done. We hated this guy his first 3 years. It is the greatest signing in the history of the franchise. They signed him. Dale Talon signed him. Dale Talon signed him and gave him $10 million, a year, $70 million.
No trade, too,
to
right?
win.
Wasn't it a no trade clause
maybe
as well?
To win the Stanley Cup. It's the greatest signing in the history of the franchise.
And he didn't have to be the best goalie in any of the series. He wasn't the best goalie in this series as it played out.
He was phenomenal last night.
No, he was phenomenal last night. He had three
games were terrible.
He had 3 outstanding games, but you look at who he went through to get to that place.
Oh, the murderer's row of goalies.
Vasilevsky, Swayman, and Igor Shesterkin. He's not – there's a gulf there. And it didn't matter because of how this team is constructed. I love it. Around that big contract of his, and he's a champion forevermore, and everything that Zaz said about his jersey and Hall of Fame, all that is true now.
And for the people who don't know the history, benched at the start of last postseason.
Yeah, they don't get into the playoffs last year without Alex Lyon.
And the postseason before it, he was splitting time with Spencer Knight.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
is he still a Panther?
Spencer Knight was on the ice.
Yes, he was on the ice.
He was the one that handed the cup to Paul Maurice.
Yep.
He rang the bell.
That was a good job out of Spencer Knight giving the cup to Maurice. That was a good job out of him.
That was an odd order that they handed that cup around.
Really?
It was.
Odd.
Yeah.
Ekblad was so pissed when Oliver Ekman-Larsson got it before him.
There's got to be a story there. You understand why Oposo is getting it before Ekblad, but I would have liked Ekblad, especially because the moment in that game, it maybe might have been the cheating from Brandon Montour, as Dan highlighted, or the bodies on top of bodies in the crease, but I thought the 1v1, McDavid against Aaron Ekblad, who's played against Connor McDavid throughout junior hockey his entire life. Like, he is not a great skater. There is such a wide gulf in skating ability on that 1v1.
Ekblad stumbled with the cup. He almost tripped.
I think he tripped over the rug, right?
He's not a great skater.
Fitting. It was fitting that he stumbled with the cup.
That's not fair. I mean, he's had an injury-riddled career.
Oh, and he was probably hurt there because his ankle probably swelled up.
Yeah, like, are we going to find – we're going to find out the injuries
Yeah,
now,
you're going to find
right?
out the injuries for all the teams, the losing team, and you're going to find out what's going on with Florida there. But for one moment, Aaron Ekblad was isolated with the game's greatest player, and he summoned enough effort to stop him.
It's such a weird sport. We're excited now to find out how hurt our guys were.
I want to know how often it happens that a team puts up the stat that the Panthers did, which is when leading after 2 periods, they are now 69-0-4 this season.
They were due. I mean,
60
fought it off. I mean,
69.
That little voice was in my head.
The fact
eventually
that
this has to end.
not one time this season did they lead headed into the third period and lose the game.
That's right.
That's crazy.
They suck games away.
How often? But yes, I understand that it's part of. It's not. It's a feature, not a bug. I understand that it's how they're built, and it's why I believed that they would win the game yesterday, because Game 7 on the road is hard, and they were going to win the third period because they always win the third period. Can you guys tell me how rare it is to go an entire season where you hold every lead you have? Because it's not just that they were empirically the best third period team by plus minus. The fact that it has never once happened, and against the Rangers, they gave up the lead and then won the game a little bit later, and that happened a few times during this. But I just can't believe that they didn't lose one of those this season.
How about Kevin Stenlund without a stick for 90 seconds?
Oh, that was a gigantic penalty
Monster
kill.
number 2. He gave him one of these and one of those.
Clutch move. Forsling lost the 6. Stenlund said, "Here, take mine."
Game 7.
That's a bad feeling, though. That's. I'm not kidding you when I tell you that the feeling around that was worse for me than the feeling of the goal that tied the game 2 minutes later. The feeling I had for the minute and a half where I'm like, you're kidding me. They're going to be on the power play, which they make it a 37% clip, and also it's going to be man advantage, and one of the Panthers isn't going to have a stick.
Punching at the
puck. So he's just going to
5
be
on
out
3.5.
there. He's going to look like me out there, just sort of standing in the way, dancing around, unable to do anything with his stick, and unable to have the time to go get the stick. So basically, your only play there is, can I block a shot with my face? Like, how do I block a shot with my face? I don't have a stick.
That's what I said last night. I had my father up. We had 3 generations of Zaslow men watching the game. I brought out the big guns. I brought my father into the Zaslow Mansion Sirius room. It's a very exclusive group, but we needed 3 generations to carry us through to Game 7. So I brought my father in. And when Stenlund's out there without the stick, like, he's a hockey fan, but he doesn't know all the nuances. It's like, He doesn't have a stick. What's he going to do? Like, he's going to block the puck with his face if he has to. That's what he's going to do.
Whatever it takes.
You put the man in mansion? Is there any way? It's just Zaslow men in a room just wrestling and jostling?
3 generations of
alphas.
Zaslow men. 4 of us total. 3 generations were in the Zaslow Mansion family room, which, of course, everybody knows when the game starts. That becomes the serious room.
Moller just sent me a picture. Kachuk is at the elbow room with the cup.
The cup's at the elbow room. The cup is
Why
at
am I
the
not
elbow
there?
room.
Kachuk said last night on the ice, when Matthew and Brady were being interviewed by the NHL Network crew, he said, I heard tomorrow it's elbow room.
We need to get somebody over to the elbow room.
Yes,
Is it
me.
gonna be too late? Go! What are you doing?
for
It's
it.
not because you've
Bye, everybody.
contributed so much to the show.
Go
Go!
get Chucky.
Have you
get
gone to me
Chucky.
today?
Go.
Have you gone to me today?
Yes.
Yeah,
Go.
it's
You
railing.
were
No,
hungover.
go
You
to the
gave
elbow
me
room.
nothing.
No, this is
Go, please,
go
go
for
get
it.
us content. Feel
Yeah,
free.
go to
If
the
it's
elbow
hot,
room.
remember, you chose to wear a jersey. Don't blame Dan.
How long do you think they're going to be there? Because
I think all day.
I could see Roy getting to the elbow room too late.
I think all day.
Roy will keep chasing.
Yeah.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Steve Levy's going to join us here in a second. The crew that's been covering this has to be exhausted. These flights back and forth to Edmonton are brutal. We'll get to Steve Levy in a second. But, Greg, your last night walking out onto the ice, media members are interacting with you. Are you a conquering hero? Do you feel like you've just won the Stanley Cup because of the number of media members congratulating you and slapping you on the back?
I did feel mildly exonerated, if I'm being honest, because, there was a lot of heat on me for having what people called a ridiculous opinion. And on some level, I'm certain it was, but I made pretty clear that what I meant was this guy.
We got it. We got it. You don't need to explain it
Okay.
again. We've
Had
covered
never
it
won a
70
Stanley
different
Cup,
times. I got
and
it.
that
We got it. We
continues
got
to
it.
be the case.
As you're walking through the hallways, though, are you doing it with a strut? Like, because you got
Yes.
it right.
Yeah,
Who congratulated you? Give us some names of the media members who congratulated you as if you had won the Stanley Cup.
Just Will Manso of TV, and Roy and Dwork and
Of TV.
TV's Will Manso.
TV.
Yes.
Do you not know who he works for? Is that the problem?
No, I know all the stations, but there's
He's
too many.
not here to
name.
take a quiz.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank you, Billy.
He
But
won a cup.
Literally too many people I didn't know came up to me. And
How many
congratulated
people? How many? Give me a number.
25 or 30.
All right. So you were a conquering hero.
Yeah. To the media. And not to
Congratulations.
anybody else.
Congratulations.
And not to Steve Levy and not to some media, but to my media.
To your media.
To my immediate media.
That's
Will
Media.
Manso.
To my immediate.
Will Manso of TV. Here is Steve Levy of TV as well. And as Stugotz says, Pink from the Boca Beach Club. You have said for...
There's no way he stayed anywhere in Sunrise, I promise
You have said for 2 weeks that he looks like the Boca Beach Club. He looks like he got too much sun. Steve, how tired are you right now?
Little bit fried, and tell Greg that Messier hates him too. Add him to the list, okay?
Okay, get in line, Mark.
Yes.
The Messiah.
How exhausted are you? Those flights are brutal, and it's a very long season. And do you believe that anyone outside of South Florida wanted the Panthers to win last night?
So first of all, I got to be honest. The NHL set up a charter, which was a big, big win. This is my 30th Stanley Cup final, and the first time we've had access to a charter. So a bunch of ESPN people, Hockey Night in Canada people, Sportsnet. So it was nonstop, Fort Lauderdale to Edmonton, smooth, customs easy. So really, no complaints on the travel. We might have had it easier than the players did. In fact, the Oilers, I know when they went home from Fort Lauderdale, they had to stop in Kansas City for fuel, if you can believe that, on the Oilers playing. That's true story. So outside of South Florida, yeah, I do. I believe it. I believe it's special when a team finally wins its first Stanley Cup in franchise history. This is a hard-working, blue-collar, gritty club. The Panthers are. And so, yeah, I think they got a lot of fans in not in Canada probably, but certainly in the U.S.
You're going on vacation. You have two choices. You're spending a week. Edmonton or Sunrise, Florida. Where are you going?
Well, in the summer, man, I'm not picking Florida. And quite frankly, walking around Edmonton with Messier, is pretty cool. We didn't wait in too many lines.
Right. Yeah, you can't bring Messier though. I mean, it's just you.
Oh, do I have to bring PK? Can I just go alone? No, we had a great time in Edmonton. We had a blast. It's a small town / city, but we had a great time. The people were really nice, really welcoming. And listen, if you love hockey, you'd love Edmonton too. I can't take the heat, man. I bubble up here in Florida in the summer. So, although I do go to Vegas in summer, so that's kind of the same thing. Yeah.
Steve, early in the series, it looked like you guys had a desk from IKEA. I noticed that last night that desk disappeared. You had a nice lit up desk. It looked like a big desk was flown in for Game 7. What happened there?
So that's not true, but I appreciate you pointing that out. The desk that everyone was complaining about was only in Edmonton for the 3 games there. We couldn't get our proper desk through customs. No, it was the difference in the setup that we had. So here at the Amerant Bank Arena, which I still can't get used to saying, they gave us a great suite. We were in our own suite, therefore we had the desk. You could see we were standing behind it, lit up perfectly. And in Edmonton, we were not afforded that luxury of having a suite. We sort of had an area, if you will, which was like really right in the middle of the crowd, and a ceiling right above us. So we couldn't stand. So we had to sit in chairs. Therefore, we had to get a different table. This is way too inside the television.
Well, but no, people. The desk was controversial, was it not? It isn't. It is too inside television. But your desk was bothering people in Edmonton, was it not? It was a source of great controversy.
No, and I even mentioned it. I say, hey, I'm taking the desk home with me. At the end, people don't like it. But as one of our bosses said, listen, it's a good thing. Nobody's complaining about our content or what we're saying or ripping our views or point of views. They're ripping the desk, so we seem to be okay with that, you know.
Steve, this is a parochial opinion, but I find the Panthers to be a particularly likable team, and I'm wondering if you agree. And mostly, describe Paul Maurice to someone who's never met him or talked to him, because I think he's a breath of fresh air.
I mean, he was a central figure in this whole thing for me, and I said it last night in the pregame. You know, if you didn't care who won, you didn't have a really rooting interest. Paul Maurice is a guy you root for. He's a lifer. He had more losses than any coach in NHL history, fired a bunch of times. He's had a rough road. And if this would have gone the other way last night, you know, and this was kind of a coin flip. It's a 1-goal game. This could have easily gone the other way. And if it had, you know, he would have been tagged with that label of the guy who can't win the big one. So I think you saw on the ice what it meant to him. He was talking to Emily. He needed a break with the cup. And he looked to the sky and closed his eyes. I thought that was really real. And so I'm a Maurice guy. I remember him back in Hartford. He was the youngest coach in the NHL at that point of the Whalers. And Ray Ferraro's in that picture to the left. Ray said he's going to frame that. But he was a guy I was rooting for, maybe more so than any player. Kyle Opozo's a great story, too, those kinds of things. But I really feel like Maurice earned this. And, yes, I think the Panthers are a likable club. Who doesn't like Matthew Tkachuk unless you got to play against him? And I get that. But Barkov, the way he carries himself, really all the guys, even Lomborg and Cousins and those guys, like I could get behind. This could be my favorite team, you know, if I was a kid growing up watching this club. So I think likability off the charts, and I'm so happy for Paul Maurice, right at the top of my list.
How crushed was Messier last night?
So interesting emotions there. So, look, he's all in on the Oilers, and how could he not be, right? He's actually born and raised in Edmonton, let alone being the man there with Gretz. But then in the end, so the Oilers leave the ice, and I'm watching Mess, and it's only our 3rd year together, our 2nd cup. He got misty-eyed. Like, he gets in the moment of whoever is winning the cup. I think because he remembers how hard it is to do from his 6 Stanley Cups. And he was talking about the tentacles, in essence, of all the different people on the ice, from your billet family, the trainers, the equipment guys, the support staff who work so hard, especially in hockey, for not a lot of glory and probably not a lot of money. And you see the families on the ice and what it means. And Bill Zito, the GM, so emotional on so many occasions. And so Mess gets like teary-eyed. Mess is a really fascinating guy. He's a really thoughtful, introspective guy. Like, he would put his stick through your teeth to win a hockey game when he played, but now in his post-playing career, he's so thoughtful. I think he's an emotional guy as well, and I think he was reliving it. He did it 2 years ago too when Tampa Bay won as well, And so it's interesting to sort of go through a Stanley Cup final win with Mark Messier, who's won 6 of them. So he knows.
Can you give us some historical context on two of the following things here? One, how strange a series was it to have your champion outscored 18-5 or 19-7 in the last 4 games? And furthermore, where is another game anywhere in the history of the sport with the pressure that the Panthers had on them between you win the first title ever or it'll be the worst thing you ever know and people are going to be laughing at you throughout history?
Yeah, no, it's all time. We opened the show last night saying this. You could make the argument this is the most significant single game in National Hockey League history. That's like I think that's hyperbole, but not necessarily when you break it down. That Florida had never won, Canada hadn't won in 31 years, the Oilers hadn't won in 34 years. Yes, you could complete the comeback for Florida and not carry around that label as the biggest choke job ever. I mean, I mentioned Maurice, but every player on that Panthers squad would wear that. And now they don't have to. And Edmonton can walk away with their heads held high in that they battled back from down 3-0 and, could have just given up and been swept out. So this was my 30th Stanley Cup. I just talked to Barry Melrose, who I miss dearly. And the first 28 were with Barry. He's off and retired and doing his thing. And so I've never seen anything like this. And I'd like to think I have a feel for these series. But really after the third game, I thought this was sweep city. And I picked Florida in every game, 5, 6, and 7 to win. I couldn't believe they didn't win in 5 and 6. And so here we go, and they get it done last night. And that was the game they needed, guys. We didn't have a 1-goal game in the whole series. That never happens in the Stanley Cup final. So that's another rarity prior to last night. And, Panthers hockey is winning 2-1, which was exactly the recipe for last night.
So the tan came from golf?
No, I don't golf really. I just perspire. I get warm. It's really warm. I'm in the lobby of the hotel. Of course, the air conditioning's not working.
Why were you so pink?
You mean last night or right now?
Just in general. Why? Just the entire series.
Well, some people are pointing to the makeup people, which we do wear makeup on television from time to time. My mom thinks I have really good skin. And that's why I look 35. You would agree, right?
Yes.
Guys, 35?
You haven't aged. It's bothersome. You have not aged. It's annoying.
I get all the Botox stuff, too. And come on, you guys know me a little bit. I am the last guy to do any of that stuff. Come on. And so, I perspire. I overheat. Chris Berman is the only guy who likes the studio colder than I like it. And it makes everybody else nuts. Even Messier, the tough guy from Alberta, he complains the studio's too cold when I'm in there with him. Like, you're Mark Messier from Alberta. How can it be too cold for you? So it's just a thing. It's my thing.
Good seeing you. Excellent work, sir. It's always good seeing you. You've been doing excellent work for a long time.
Thanks. Be well, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Steve.
Take care, Steve.